Try to make
succinct?
it interesting for the people in Ontario and America.
Or do they get upset? Do they send you feedback and
No,
say, hey, give us something?
I care about the listeners.
Oh, man. I'm not going to start giving updates on the, our one listener in West Virginia. Like, I have no idea what's going on over
Just
there.
give context.
The context would be, that's fair. So I was interested in buying a house in Chilliwack. It was listed at about $750,000, $780,000 about 3 years ago. And I watched it, and I thought maybe it could be an apartment site. So I've been watching it because I'm kind of looking one day to maybe having, put 2 or 3 houses together to build an apartment on. Yeah. And this place was listed, and I'm like, I'd probably pay $650,000 for it, right? Or, maybe $675,000.
Yeah. Crap
house, but huge lot, 9,000 square foot lot. And all of a sudden, boom, it sold at $730,000. I'm like, oh, wow, that's quite a bit, right? Well, Murphy's Law, as often happens in Chilliwack with the type of people that are buying houses right now, it's for sale again a year later for $8.99 something.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, because you gotta make money, right? So it's like 9 something, then it gets lowered to 8 something, and now it's for sale at $7.99, right? Well, I got a call from a realtor yesterday that said, hey, like, just make a low offer, like very, very motivated client. You've shown interest before, because I had messaged the new realtor once it was listed again.
Is that actually, are you allowed to know that?
To know what?
How
motivated he is?
Yeah.
He is supposed to do his fiduciary duty, a realtor, is to do whatever's best for his client.
Okay.
So he's allowed to say anything if he has permission. He's not allowed to break confidentiality in any ways.
Oh, yeah.
So like if he said something that he didn't get permission to say, like for instance, if his client had said to him, hey, call Gary, call anybody that's shown interest. I'm motivated. I'll take X amount. Yeah. He's allowed to call, which is what he did. Okay. I don't think I did a bit more digging and found out some more carnage on the place. And I think,
fair enough.
There's people that owe way more than their places are worth all over the place. Oh. And banks, as a general rule in our market, and this is just not in BC, this is more in Ontario, actually probably more than here, but definitely in the Lower Mainland, there'd be a lot of places that are we would say underwater. The banks will go along with the facade for as long as they can if the person's making the payment. Especially like a private lender might not. If I'm lending the money, somebody personally, we might not, because we know that we could end up losing more and more the lower the value goes. But a big bank, they want to keep things out of the receiver camp. They want to keep, it's called loan loss provisions is what the correct term is.
They wouldn't even know that necessarily, right? If you own a place.
They wouldn't know it like a private lender would, because when I lend money to somebody, I know exactly what the house is worth that I lent the money on, and I'm watching the market. No, they wouldn't to that extent. But I mean, they would know, their whole book would be probably, in a spreadsheet, and anything that was bought between August of 2021 and February of 2022 in Chilliwack and Abbotsford and the entire Lower Mainland.
They can see those.
They can see all those, and they know all of those, if they were bought with a low amount of money down, are all upside down. Okay. And those are starting to get flushed out now. Like, you're seeing multiple listings, I would say a day, but for sure a week, and just in our area.
And why are they getting flushed out? Because they're able to make the payments. I guess interest rates went up.
Yeah, and I think what would happen is, your average person, first of all, doesn't want to lose their house. They might lose their job, and all of a sudden now they can't even make their payment. Oh, yeah. So now it's like, hey, you know what? And the other thing that happened
is walk away from it.
Yeah, and in the same market, rent has went from, let's just say in Chilliwack, a really nice house before was $3,500. Now you could probably rent I'm just spitballing here, but you could probably rent a house for $2,500. Yeah. So now it's like, oh, all of a sudden my payment at $3,500 is horrible. I literally have zero equity in this house. Yeah. I don't think the market's going to rebound for the next 3 years. Yeah. I'll do the bankruptcy thing or walk away from this.
That's what would have happened to me if I didn't sell my place.
In hindsight.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have realized it at the time.
Well, I sold at a really good time.
Yeah, you sold it at a higher time.
Yeah,
I mean, it was still reasonable. I think it was still a fair price.
It was a fair price. Yeah. I'm just saying, if I would have held on to it, and my interest rate, went from a 1.8% interest rate to 7% interest rate on a big mortgage, and I wasn't really making the payments anymore, and the value was going down. If I would have done everything I could to hold on for 2 more years, I would have
been really upside down. Yeah. The other thing is, people with a house, it would be the very last thing that people let go. So people will default on a couch payment or whatever weird payment they have. They might even cancel Netflix. I don't think so. I think they'd probably lose their house before they cancel Netflix. But they'll cancel some of these subscriptions. Yeah. Before they'll lose their house. The house would be the very last payment they stop making as a general rule, because that's their security for their family to live. Yeah. So it's just fascinating to see it. It's a big.
Would you recommend that people need to sell their place and have a little bit left over they need to pay off? Like
people are doing that. People are adding money in. So remember how last week on Marie's podcast we talked about those condos closing? Yeah. People that are upside down in equity on a condo closing are saying, "Hey, I already paid the down payment of $80,000. Yeah. Right? The purchase price was $500,000. I'll sell it to you for 100,000 less, and I'll eat the entire difference just so they don't lose their credit. Because lots of these people have other stuff of equity of value.
Okay.
So there's definitely people just literally writing off.
Yeah.
There's apartments in Vancouver where people are losing $1 million and they're reselling them. They're just baths. That's at the extreme luxury end.
Yeah.
But it's very
those
common.
are the kind of guys that are losing $1 million in a business deal here and there too.
Yeah, but I think it's fascinating when the market is really hot, everybody gets leveraged, even rich people. I think everybody thinks, the snowball gets bigger the wealthier you are, Did
you do that as well? Like, would you have fallen into that? Or did you learn enough along the way that you didn't?
I think I was ingrained. I had my cousin who's extremely prudent and risk adverse.
Okay.
Like not risk adverse, but like very prudent.
Your business partner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He would be like, think worst case scenario. So he kind of taught me really well.
Okay. Interesting.
My parents.
Is he older than you?
Yeah. He's 5 years older.
Right.
My parents are very fiscally responsible. So like that whole indoctrination of the age of not living beyond your means, which I never listened to, but
Yeah. Because you still had a whole bunch of years where you didn't.
Yeah. But I mean, by the grace of God, it just kind of worked out. Right. And like I had leveraged. So for example, in the early 2000s, I owned 4 houses. Right. Which like I had an income of probably $60,000 a year, but I was getting private mortgages and I didn't even know what a private mortgage was at the time. So I was doing weird stuff.
That's what the kind of stuff I was doing.
I was doing weird. Exactly. When you talk about the CRA, I was doing these things that made no sense. Now there again, they kept printing money. Sometimes it works out. You don't get to claim wisdom when something stupid works out because the timing is right.
Yeah. It's like me making like 400 grand on Bitcoin and being like,
I didn't sell it though.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and then all of a sudden it's
and I think that's where. For me, I think timing is just critical. And you can't time the market, but you can definitely be prudent in the sense of, hey, flush out scenario A, B, and C and make sure you can live with scenario C as well, or at least a version of it.
Yeah, or going back to how we started this podcast for the third time now is who is your God?
And don't cling too tightly to anything.
Yeah, and like be responsible, like do the right thing. It's not about your comfort or where you live or all those
It is hard though. It is hard. It's hard to do the right thing when the rubber meets the road. Everybody in theory wants to be a person of integrity. Right?
And everyone needs to learn, right? Everyone's 20 at some point, and then
even if you're 60, just learn it. Yeah. No, people when they're older learn it too, right?
Yeah. So you're always learning.
You might not even be put into a spot where your integrity is really tested until you're older. Because you may have had a relatively easy path.
I never thought of that.
There's people that I've met. Like I went on a farming tour one time and met pig farmers. And pig farmers have a history of going broke, especially like in the prairies. Mm. And I went with a friend to go look at some pig farms. And like we met this one guy and like he went broke. He went broke gracefully. He got to stay living in his own house and eventually did buy the farm back from the bank.
That's cool.
Because he kept relationships and was respectful always. And so there's just a lot to be learned from people that have went through hard things.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I agree. I
have a meeting in Abbotsford. That's a wrap. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
All the best in the future. Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Furiously Curious Show. If you were blessed by it, would you be willing to support the show? That would really help me and the show be able to grow, improve the production quality, be able to get more guests, hopefully create more shows as well. And so if you're open to doing that, there's a link in the description of the podcast here to do that, and that would be hugely appreciated. You can also subscribe to the show and follow it. That goes a long way as well. But either way, thank you for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that episode and were blessed by it, would you be willing to support the show? That would help a lot in creating more content, improving the quality of the content, putting the production value, getting more guests on, and me being able to spend more time and energy towards it. So if you're interested in doing that, you can click up here and it'll take you to a support page. But you can also subscribe to the podcast by clicking over here and doing that. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.